So what I want to talk about briefly are two systems that are at play that serve as barriers to the realization of this vision and this mission. The first system is the food system. And you all, most of you are experts in that, understanding that that whole continuum of planting and harvesting and processing and distributing and selling, all of those things make up this system that we're a part of. The other system I'd like to talk about briefly is the system of institutional racism. And like the food system, it has many, many different components. Components that we typically are not aware of consciously, but they are at play, establishing normal behavior for us. And that's what these systems do. They establish what is normal behavior in our society. I was at a meeting yesterday and we were talking about the myth of a post-racialized America. How many have heard the concept that now that we have a family in the White House of color, that we are now in a post-racialized America? Racism is no longer a concern. Exactly. And someone asked me, did I think it was a myth? And if so, why? And how was it a myth? And I said the myth of a post-racialized America is comparable to the myth of a happy slave, or separate but equal, or contented farm workers who are not receiving adequate pay for their labor. And that mythology comes from this collective psychosis that we have in our society, which needs to deny the reality of the pain that we inflict on people. We need to act like it doesn't happen. We need to deny the reality, we need to deny the consequences, we need to deny the implications, and most importantly, we need to deny the feelings. And it's this psychosis that makes us collectively, I think, sick as a country. And until we address that pathology, that core pathology of our ability to otherize certain groups based on physical characteristics, we will never really reach our ideals and our potential as a nation. In just a few short years, most of the children in this country will be children of color. And if we allow the school failure, the dropout rates, the disproportionate incarceration of people of color, the infant mortality rates, and the premature death, the disparities in all these areas of life to continue, then it does not bode well for the future of our nation as a whole. And so this disparities conversation has to rapidly become an equity conversation. And that equity conversation becomes the future of America conversation. Now, many of you are addressing the structural aspects of racism. You're working in communities to bring food into places where it's not available at a reasonable cost. But to change the behaviors and the attitudes of the retail suppliers and the grocery store chains, we can give them incentives, but ultimately we're going to have to change the hearts and minds of some of the people in power in order to bring about the outcomes that we'd like to see. So the racial healing work is real work, and I'm imagining at some point that we will have a national fund in this country that will support communities in their efforts to do racial healing, that we will rise above our collective denial of the reality of a legacy of racism, and that one day we will have put race before us long enough to be able to put it behind us. And so I would suggest to you that a big part of our work going forward is in communicating the reality of the complexity of the systems that we're dealing with. And the next time someone tells you that the solution to our childhood obesity epidemic is to change the behaviors of children, sit them down. Try to explain to them that the children are behaving the way that we force them to behave because of the system that we've surrounded them with and the environments that we've surrounded them with. The next time someone tells you we're in a post-racialized America, sit them down and tell them that we've had 3 centuries of a system designed to deny the humanity of people based on physical characteristics. I would ask you in the final analysis of your work to make sure that your food work always connects to the other system that's at play, which is the system of institutionalized racism. It is possible to do food work and never touch that. Just as it's possible to do work on racism and never touch the realities of food. But they really do come together in the most amazing ways. And so our challenge is to keep that connection in the front of our minds as we go forward. And I really, really do applaud each and every one of you for how you are attempting to do that in your own special ways.